Hi guys, Happy New Year and welcome to 2023. So maybe you can hear my in the background my wife. She has a meeting right now, but it's fine because we have a dedicated microphone, a dynamic microphone that can capture mostly my voice. But in any case, yeah, I also have an upcoming consultation with a student. But since that's still a little while, let me do a very quick unboxing. The first one in 2023. But first of all, I'm gonna talk about a little bit. This one I got. I think yesterday when we came back to Metro Manila. This is the RG351P, which is essentially the best how do you say this, Game Boy Advance emulator that you can get out there. But we won't talk about the why it's the best Game Boy Advance emulator, why is it even arguably better than the actual hardware. But as you can see in my right here, we have a package, and this is gonna be the first from 2023. I have a lot of new packages in the late 2022, but yeah, during those times my laptop's a bit huge. It's a bit hard to concatenate the audio from the mic and the video from the from my cell phone. But now I want to capture this on film because this is a package. As you can see, there is a fragile word right there. This is a package from Australia. You can also buy this from England, UK, the United States, but I figured the Australia is the nearest to the Philippines, so I bought it there. What is this? This is a passion project by the YouTuber Retro Dodo. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut it very quickly. So let me just get the scissors right here, cut it open on top. So this was delivered via Philpost. In fact, it actually arrived, I ordered this almost Christmas Day. It arrived like January 2 in the country. The guy from Philpost, they were calling, the one that would deliver the packages and that would assess from the customs how much you're gonna pay for it. I paid like additional 100 pesos for it, but it's fine. I also gave the delivery man a tip. But in any case, yeah, he called January 2, but then I asked him to just leave it in our lobby in our place. But then he said I had to pay a certain that, like I said, 100 pesos for it. So I told him, so is it fine if you can go back like a week later, because that's the time we're coming back? And he said, yeah, it's all right. And so I met him today. So it's tightly wrapped right here, but as you can see, there's like the sticking part that once you open, it kind of wrinkles around. You can't really recycle it anymore. But let me open this very carefully and see. Yeah, it's bubble wrap. So inside the casing, as you can see, let me show that to you. Right inside the fragile plastic, and hopefully the mic can capture the sound of unboxing a plastic against bubble wrap. The only thing that can't be captured by our technology right now is the sense of smell, which is typically very addicting once you have new packages. Hopefully in the future, aside from capturing the image and the sound, maybe in the future in our technology we'll have like something that can capture the sense of smell, and so you can also experience what the guy in the video is smelling. But in any case, yeah, there's a bubble wrap. So very quickly, let me just remove the tape from the bubble wrap. Oh, you hear that sound? It's the sound of scotch tape ripping off from the bubble wrap. Okay. Oh, so very huge plastic, and they did put a fragile in there so that it does not destroy the package. So if you haven't seen I posted in my Facebook, like during the holiday break, that I have an upcoming package from Australia. If you haven't seen that, then this will be a surprise for you. Let's pop some bubbles. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, the bubbles are a bit stiff, but yeah, as you can hear, they're popping a little bit. So let me just put the bubble wrap on the right side right here. Okay, so it's in this piece of cardboard, very carefully wrapped. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut right here, so that we make sure that the opening is really clean and it doesn't actually package. I've seen some unboxings where they were like cutting through it and then they were not careful. They were so excited they cut through the actual package itself. So that's something that we're not gonna be doing. So in fact, instead of cutting through the scotch tape, why don't we just tear this cardboard right here, or you know, cut it over here so that it doesn't, we don't have the danger of cutting through the actual package. But yeah, it's giving me a hard time right now. All right, okay, so now we're getting the actual thing. Now you're asking, what's that? It's actually a book. It's a coffee table book, and like I said, it's from the YouTuber Retro Dodo. So from the name itself, if it's not obvious to you, he does retro handhelds, okay, retro video games. The rise of the rise of the Chinese retro handhelds, you know, Anbernic, Pao Kiddy, all these things. So YouTubers such as him were very excited with it. So it comes with this very weird plastic from Pixel Crib. So Pixel Crib, I believe, is the name of our how should we say this, like the host, the one that's doing the delivery, like they're like the hub in Australia, so they're called Pixel Crib. So aside from this, they sell a bunch of stuff. So if it's coming from UK or US, so it's a different one. So it's in here, Pixel Crib. So they have like an image of some, I don't know, World or Warcraft or whatever. I'm not familiar with that, but yeah, you know, I'm not gonna use that. What I'm excited is, as you can see right here, it's actually the, let me just put the image in there. So this book, so as you can see, a handheld history. Okay, so not just retro, right? Because we still have the most current handheld right now is the Nintendo Switch, and so that's not yet retro. So we're gonna get the final bubble wrap from here. Okay, so let me just cut this right here. So again, this is like around 200 pages of pure handheld goodness. So a little background about me. Personally, I love video games, but I grew up with handhelds. You know, when I was 6 years old, I had a neighbor who had a Game Boy. You know, I played the crap out of Super Mario Land. And since then, I've always been fascinated by handheld. You know, the fact that you have this tiny thing with, you know, people that you can control a tiny world, you know, within that very small screen. To me, that's very fascinating. And growing up, you know, I had friends who were playing, like, you know, the PlayStation and all these things. You have arcades and stuff, but that didn't really that did not felt how do you say this, alluring to me, because, you know, growing up when I was in elementary, we didn't have any electricity, and so I was thinking, if I'm gonna have a handheld, if I'm gonna have a video game console, if it's gonna be like a PlayStation, then we need to have electricity, we need to have a TV. So during that time, we still don't have a TV, right? But I told myself, if I'm gonna buy something like a Game Boy, you know, you don't need a TV, you don't need electricity. It comes with its own screen, it comes with its own power via a battery. And so during that time, the very first console that I bought for myself is actually a Game Boy Advance. I was already like in first year college then, right? And then from there, you know, I began collecting all the handheld consoles that I missed, and then from then on, when I got, you know, my job and all these things, I've been buying all the handhelds all the way to the Nintendo Switch. Right now I have like all the models of the Nintendo Switch, V1, V2, Lite, and all these things. So handheld to me is very, you know, so, but like I said, I never had like PS3, PS4, PS5. These things don't fascinate me, you know, like something that you have to connect to the television that you can't bring anywhere with you. Even though I'm just at home, I still love playing, you know, sitting on a couch or you know, lying on the bed and then playing on a handheld like this one, right? The RG 351M. But in any case, we are now in the final bubble wrap, and as you can see right here, you can now imagine the awesomeness. So the book is called A Handheld History. And if you can see, you know, it's the images on the cover is a pays homage to the existing the consoles that came before. You know, you have there the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy SP, Nintendo Switch, Game Boy Micro, PSP. You have here, I think this is a Neo Geo Pocket, Game Gear, a Nintendo DS, a Game & Watch, and all these things, and then all the cartridges that came with them. At the back, so you have the Atari Lynx, the Game Boy, you know, color printer. This is a Steam Deck, of course, something that's very modern, something that also does not, how do you say this? It's not something that I'm interested in because, first of all, I don't play PC games, I don't have a Steam library, and so I find it too bulky. So, you know, you have a Game Boy Color, PS Vita. This is the analog Pocket. Nintendo 3DS XL, of course. This one is an Anbernic RG 280V. The funny thing is, if you look at the labels, I don't know why. Maybe some how they say this, copyright or anything, or something like that. But instead of calling it the Vita, they they call it Life, and they spelled as LYFE. Instead of calling it a Game Boy Color, they in the book they call it the Game Bro Color. So maybe there's some copyright going on, because in the real world, these names, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, all these things, these are copyrighted. But yeah, let's open it in camera. And yeah, I just like I said before, it would have been awesome to capture the smell as well, but unfortunately you don't have that. You just imagine it on your own. But as you can see, opening the book for the first time, you have there a pink cover. Lost in Cult, I think they are the ones that distributes this in UK or in US, I'm not sure, but they print a lot of books. So you have in here Brandon Saltalamacchia. He's the guy from RetroDodo.com. Very awesome guy. He reviews handheld consoles and all these things. And yeah, so there's like a introduction right there. Then you see the table. I'm not sure. I'm looking at my camera in the opposite way, so I'm not sure if actually seeing this. But yeah, you have here the different consoles. All the way. What's the most modern one? They have in here Retroid Packet 2 Plus. They even have the Funky S, the tiniest foldable handheld that I also have. It was kickstarted. So more pictures right here. There's like a forward. Here's the Game & Watch. Of course, I'm not gonna open the whole thing. I'm gonna read this one by one. So it's so awesome to have so you can see it's thick, right? It's like 200 plus. It's so amazing, to have a book dedicated about handheld. So here I am, opening to random pages. This is of course the Super Mario edition of the Nintendo Switch, the one that came in red and blue, not the original Super Mario Odyssey edition. This is of course the Hori gamepad that you put on your Nintendo Switch on the left side if you want a D-pad instead of the original separated buttons. But the disadvantage of that is you can't use it wirelessly. It doesn't have rumble and all those things. But yeah, here it is very interesting. So the Louvre guide. There's like a game in the Nintendo 3DS where it's like you're going into the Louvre Museum, and the nice thing is that I don't know if it's still in there, but during the height of the Nintendo 3DS, one of the options if you go to the Louvre Museum in Paris is that you can actually carry they have a Nintendo 3DS there, and you can carry it with you with the headphones, and then it tells you instructions, go this way, go that way, and here you can see the Mona Lisa, blah blah blah. It's very good. And even if you're not there, it's like taking a virtual tour to the Louvre Museum, which is very interesting. So you have here some Splatoon artworks, of course the Nintendo Switch OLED. I got, where is it? It's not in my table, but my wife gifted me Nintendo Switch OLED on a Christmas, something a model that I never had. I think it's like more than a year old now, but yeah, very awesome. Here, two awesome games from Capcom. So it is like Capcom worked with Nintendo to produce this one of the best Game Boy, two of the best Game Boy Color games out there: Zelda Oracle of Season and Zelda Oracle of Ages. So very very cool. So one, Oracle of Seasons, involves changing seasons, and then Oracle of Ages involves jumping around in time, something that they perfected in like something like Ocarina of Time. Of course, you have ARMS, and one of the best video games, arguably one of the best video games ever made, Breath of the Wild. So some people consider this their best game on the Nintendo Switch as well. I go with Super Mario Odyssey because I'm more of a Mario guy than a Zelda guy. But again, so here you have a PSP. When I'm a big Nintendo guy, but during the PSP Nintendo's DS war, I have to admit I bought PSP first, and then when I bought it, I got like Tekken Dark Resurrection and then Siphon Filter. Man, it was those were good times, But of course, a few months after that, I did buy Nintendo DS. But yeah, this was like one of the closest competitor. Nintendo basically has the entire handheld market in their hands. During those days with the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, they didn't have a proper competition. People like Atari produced the Lynx, or Sega did the Game Gear. Neo Geo had the Neo Geo Pocket. There were attempts to dethrone Nintendo on the handheld market. no one came close except the Sony PSP. You know, people they dubbed this like the Walkman of the 20th century or something like that, and it's, you know, it's from the big brand Sony, something that, you know, basically got the chunk of the console market in the video game, in the console, home console arena. You know, like starting from like Nintendo 64 era after SNES, you know, Nintendo 64 when PS1 came out, you know, PS1 basically stumped Nintendo 64 to death. PS2 also, you know, was outselling GameCube, and then of course, when PS3 came out, then Nintendo had to be unique. You know, they gave us the Nintendo Wii. Of course, Nintendo Wii outsold, as everyone knows, the PlayStation 3. But in any case, yeah, we have here, yeah. So I'm gonna read here PlayStation Vita. So after the PSP, it was close fight with the Nintendo DS, right? Although, you know, Nintendo DS is like the second best-selling console of all time, next to PlayStation 2. The Nintendo Switch, of course, just overtaken the Game Boy like last weeks of December to be the third best-selling console of all time. Before that was the Game Boy. So it was like before the Switch, it was like PlayStation 2, Nintendo DS, Game Boy, and then PlayStation 4, and then the Switch was like on the fifth, and then the Switch overtook PS4. Now the Switch has overtook, you know, last December the Game Boy. And now, you know, it's on the way to overtake Nintendo DS, and then hopefully the PlayStation 2. But yeah, I think it's gonna have a hard time overtaking PlayStation 2, and the reason is because when PlayStation 2 came out, people were buying it not necessarily for the video game capability, but, you know, for the fact that it's a cheap DVD player. During that time, so it's, you know, the rise of the DVDs, so people bought that. But yeah, I was saying PlayStation Vita, you know, Nintendo PSP came close, although, you know, it was still outsold. The gap was still huge between the Nintendo DS, but, you know, people can't call it a flop, you know, the PSP. However, during the Nintendo 3DS era, the competitor was like PlayStation Vita, right? During the early days, you know, people were laughing at the 3DS. What's that? Like, look at the competitor, like Sony PlayStation. But then, you know, after a few years, the Vita, ironically, which means life, was, you know, Sony left it to die, and, you know, it was like people were just the indie games is basically that were supporting it. But yeah, it was sad. Vita, I have like I have the two models of the Vita, the Fat and the 2000. But it was sad that, you know, Nintendo did not support to the very end, unlike, you know, I meant Sony did not support Vita to the very end, unlike Nintendo, who, you know, supported the 3DS when they noticed that the 3DS during the early years was like not selling very well. They cut the price and all these things, and you know, Satoru Iwata took a hit in his salary just so his employees won't have a salary deduction. You know, very good man, rest in peace, Satoru Iwata. But in any case, yeah, so you have the PlayStation TV, all these things. Yes, and as you can see, it's still very thick and it's still in the center. So Vita is a very vibrant community, even though, you know, Sony left it to die. So you have the Game Gear, something that I'm not very, although they have these Game Gear micros that, you know, I'm pretty interested, but I wasn't big into Game Gear even until now, because if you play the original hardware, it takes like 6 AA batteries. It's ridiculous, and then only lasts like for a few hours. This is the reason why, you know, the Game Boy, even though the Game Boy had a you know, a non-backlit screen, and then the screen is just black and white and all these things, it only took 2 AA's, and then that two AA's would last like more than 10 hours as opposed to, you know, Sega Game Gear. So even though Sega Game Gear appears to look very advanced, you know, it's not always like graphics or technological capabilities doesn't always guarantee the success of a handheld. Yeah, but I think, yeah, we're now in the analog pocket. We're now entering the how do you say this, the Chinese retro handheld market. We're now seeing here the this is the Wonder Swan. We're seeing in here the, what's this, Game King, I believe. Yeah, I believe this now. Oh, this I'm not familiar. Nokia N-Gage, of course, we know about that. The Playdate, you know, it's fairly new, the one with the one that you twist. So very weird, the console, but that's something that's hard to find. Yeah, but in any case, I'm trying to look for like some Unburnix and stuff. But yeah, as you can see, the coverage of their the Funky S. I got this 2021. Very awesome. I love that thing. They have retrade pocket too. Let me see if yeah, you have here the supportings on all these things. Let me go back to the table of contents and see if we have some unburnix in there, because I did see 280V in the table of contents. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not seeing any Chinese handhelds. Maybe I'm just missing it, so maybe I'm gonna you know, at the end of the day, I'm gonna do an in-depth read of this one. This is gonna be very awesome. But yeah, so far I can't find. I'm trying to look for the unburnic ones, and I can't find it. Yeah, I only see analog, and then how do you say this? The retrade pocket. I only see the funky S. Yeah, but in any case, yeah, I'm so excited to have this. Finally, this was released like late last year, I think August, September, something like that. And yeah, Retro Dodo said that they're probably, so right now it's like it has like a limited copies, but they're probably gonna reprint it. But he said it won't look as premium as this one. Maybe they're gonna produce, you know, another limited run of maybe it's not gonna be how they say this, hardcover anymore. Maybe it's going to be something like paperback, soft paperback or something like that. But yeah, I'm so happy to be able to get the first run that is in hardcover. But in any case, guys, thanks for watching. That's the unboxing of a handheld history from Retro Dodo himself. So I'm gonna read this now, or maybe later tonight, and then while reading it, you know, also having my handhelds surrounding it. Maybe I'm even gonna take a picture of it or something, right? But in any case, yeah, I just want to document this unboxing because this is a very awesome item right here. But in any case, thanks for watching, guys. Again, happy new year, and I'll see you next time for more unboxings. Bye bye.